A medical enigma can occur to anyone, anytime, and when it does, it usually leads to various stages of shock, disbelief, and, if lucky, a resolution. For Keely Favell, she never expected it would happen to her. One look at this young woman, and nobody would believe she'd have any medical problem. She was still in her 20s, after all. But before we start our story, smash the like button. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. Throughout her life, Keely has always been in the pinkest of health, but when she noticed an unusual change in her body, it left her baffled. Born and raised in Swansea, Wales, Keely was just a regular woman who enjoyed her youth. Like any other person, she loved to eat. So when she started to gain extra pounds sometime in 2014, she didn't think much of it until she wound up looking knocked up. Keely did admit she was never a slim person to begin with, yet she couldn't help but worry about her burgeoning stomach. It came to a point where she assumed she might be pregnant. To confirm her suspicions, Keely took multiple tests that came out negative. The results made her more anxious since she didn't know what was wrong with her. It became quite a challenge to stay in shape, as no matter what Keely did, she couldn't keep her weight down. Despite the regular gym sessions and healthy food choices, Keely was growing heavier by the minute, and it started to affect her emotionally. Frustrated, Keely couldn't ignore the way her reflection looked in the mirror anymore. She observed that her tummy felt odd and swollen. It was high time to have her condition checked. Keely did her best to be optimistic, but soon realized that it wasn't enough, nor would it make her better. Astonishingly, she ballooned to a size 8. And still, that didn't convince her to go to a doctor, which was ironic since it turned out her dad was one. Keely thought long and hard about all her symptoms, when it started, and how it felt. In the end, she decided it must be pregnancy. It all made sense. She had a loving boyfriend named Jamie Gibbons, and the couple have been through thick and thin for 10 years. Although having a little one at that time wasn't something they had in mind, they'd have to figure out what to do just in case Keely was indeed pregnant. The young lovers purchased several home pregnancy test kits and set aside a day where they could do it together. Young as they were, they knew they had to stick together no matter what happens. Finally, Keely took the PT, and the result was shockingly negative. It was a confusing moment for Keely and Jamie. After careful consideration, Keely and Jamie concurred that they needed to visit a physician to rule out any other disease. Unfortunately, they went back to square one after the doctor informed them that Keely's condition was merely weight gain. If a medical professional couldn't give them answers, then who could? Keely didn't know who she could trust since she had no answers to hold on to. Some of Keely's symptoms coincided with pregnancy, mainly her protruding stomach. She realized that maybe everything would go away once the baby arrived, but she went past the standard gestational period, and it continued to grow for years. But one fateful day at work, she suddenly felt so sick. What was happening to her? Keely's body eventually surrendered when she felt a sharp pain in her stomach and passed out. Thankfully, her workmates were there to help. It had to happen eventually. It was just pitiful that the fainting spell occurred at the office. When Keely met up with a doctor for a checkup, she was stunned when he said the cause was most likely due to stress from work and nothing more. The doctor rambled on about how Keely shouldn't worry about anything since her blackout wasn't a serious matter, and that rest would be enough to avoid it from recurring. Once again, he reiterated that Keely wasn't pregnant and that it was just baby fat. Sadly, even the constant reassurance from the physician couldn't protect her from the daily torment of being questioned why her belly was getting bigger. Friends, family, and even strangers immediately assumed she was due to deliver anytime soon. Keely didn't know how to react nor to respond. The entire scenario became a routine for Keely that she began to think maybe it wasn't a fake diagnosis. In December 2016, her physique remained as is except for her stomach, which grew disturbingly enormous. Things had taken a turn for the worse as Keely continued to lose consciousness at work. Her body was reacting negatively to whatever was going on inside, and breathing became such a chore. As such, she discerned that perhaps a second opinion would help sort out her problems. Her colleagues felt the same way, and encouraged Keely to consult a specialist instead of a regular doctor. Keely continued to follow a lifestyle any health guru would be proud of amidst all her bodily problems. and her peers could see she was in denial. It wasn't until she fainted for the 4th time that she begrudgingly agreed to seek medical advice from a specialist. One would hope that this time there would be answers, yet in came another shocking potential cause: her acne medication. Keely was incredibly frustrated at this point, as she deduced the doctors weren't making any effort to research her condition. Enough was enough. Unbeknownst to the physicians, Keely hadn't taken her acne medication for a while now, so she argued it couldn't be the reason for her fatigue and blackouts. Stuck on options, the doctor offered to do a blood test and suggested an ultrasound. Knowing the ultrasound images were critical, Keely's doctor ordered the results to be expedited. As she lay on the table, she hoped this would be the breakthrough. But her anxiety rose when the technician reacted strangely during the scan. When the results came in, her doctor recommended seeking another specialist's opinion, a sign that her condition might be more serious than she thought. Based on the images, Keely wasn't pregnant. Instead, she might be suffering from a potentially dangerous illness. The cause of her symptoms was finally traced to a growth on her uterus, possibly a cyst or tumor. Everything began to make sense. To gain more clarity, the doctors requested a CT scan. Tension filled the room as Keely and her boyfriend Jamie waited. It was an ovarian lump. After years of confusion, Keely could finally rest emotionally. Her baby bump was a massive ovarian cyst, not weight gain or pregnancy. The growth measured 24 centimeters and was the reason behind her symptoms. Surgery was now urgent, as the cyst could rupture at any moment. Though cysts are common, Keely's was unusually large and dangerous. Located in her ovary, it threatened her blood circulation and overall health. A month later, she consulted another doctor, who was stunned by the cyst's size. He admitted such cases were rare and might help others in the future. The doctor warned that there might be more than one cyst, possibly linked to other organs like the liver or intestine. Surgery became inevitable. Her symptoms pointed to the cyst as the main cause, but the full extent of internal damage remained unclear. With surgery approaching, Keely's treatment was now in motion. The size and severity of the cyst made it a pressing concern, both physically and emotionally. Sadly, the surgeons would have to remove one of her ovaries, likely damaged by the cyst. Recovery would depend on what they found during surgery. Keely agonized over whether to tell her family. From the start, she had kept them in the dark, especially since her mother was in Australia. Though her boyfriend was supportive, she feared facing the surgery alone and regretted the idea of not seeing her family again, just in case. Fortunately, her mother flew to be by her side immediately, and her father stayed in close contact. With her family now part of the journey, Keely felt stronger and more prepared to face the challenge ahead. It won't be too long till all this would be over, especially since her operation was scheduled within a few weeks. And Keely's cyst had turned into a full-blown monster, adding 5 more inches to its size. Another doctor joined her case, an obstetrician specializing in high-risk patients. After examining her, he insisted on immediate surgery due to the rapid growth. Keely was terrified, especially upon learning her incision would reach down to her pelvic bone. On the morning of the procedure, nurses helped her prepare and escorted her to the operating room. She remained calm until the needle appeared. The sight of needles overwhelmed her. As soon as she realized one was coming, she suffered an anxiety episode inside the OR. The staff patiently managed her distress, eventually administering the medication. The surgery began and was expected to last an hour. However, 5 hours passed with no updates. Her parents, waiting anxiously, feared the worst. After a long ordeal, the doctors finally delivered good news. The surgery was successful, and the entire mass had been removed. Keely felt immense relief. She could finally start reclaiming her life. She couldn't wait to see her family. The prolonged procedure had likely left them worried sick, but now she was headed to the recovery room, eager to begin her healing. Given the cyst's massive size, the medical team was curious about it. When weighed, it was a shocking 60 pounds. Upon waking, Keely was shown photos of the removed cyst. Though startled, she felt overjoyed that it was no longer inside her. She felt reborn. Before the operation, even walking left Keely breathless. The experience taught her to never take anything for granted. Life had thrown her an enormous challenge, and she had made it through. With the cyst gone, she could wear her old clothes and feel confident again. It was as if a separate being had been removed, and now she was finally free. Despite the pain it caused, Keely found humor in the situation. The cyst's odd appearance reminded her of a swirled ice cream scoop, and she jokingly named it Mr. Whippy. It became a hospital tale, the woman who gave birth to a 60-pound cyst. Major surgery takes its toll, but Keely bounced back quickly. Thanks to her youth, she was discharged in less than a week. She now carried a 30-centimeter scar from her chest to her pelvic bone, her battle mark. Though she lost one ovary, she remained hopeful and determined to move forward. Keely's body was far from perfect, but she learned to love it again. Even with stretch marks from the expanded skin, she preferred that to carrying the cyst any longer. Her beauty, once clouded by doubt, began to shine through again. Her family was thrilled to see her return to her old self, lighter, healthier, and full of life. Their support, along with that of her friends and colleagues, helped her through recovery. She realized how truly blessed she was to have such love around her. Now, the future looked bright. Keely regained her strength and slowly returned to her usual routine. She had been given a second chance, and she intended to make the most of it. It has been a year since Keely's surgery, and a lot has happened since then. With her confidence restored, she looks and feels better than ever before. Keely wants to start her own family sometime soon, especially since the surgeon told her she can still get pregnant if she wanted to. She couldn't be more grateful for her talented surgeon and crew. With her new outlook in life, Keely is in a buoyant mood as she looks forward to sharing her miraculous story with others. Perhaps her testimony would inspire them that life has a funny way of turning things around, even when things seem bleak if they just keep believing.